I-95 at any point in the coming weeks, what I am about to tell you right now is not something you can afford to miss. Starting tomorrow, a wave of new enforcement rules goes fully active along one of the busiest highway corridors in the entire United States. And here is the part that is going to catch millions of drivers completely off guard. These are not warning tickets. There is no grace period. There is no officer pulling you over, having a polite conversation, and sending you on your way with a gentle reminder. The fines are instant. They are automatic in many zones, and they are being mailed directly to registered vehicle owners before those drivers even make it home for dinner. I'm going to walk you through every single change, every new rule, every enforcement zone, every dollar amount you are risking, and exactly what you need to do before you get behind the wheel on this corridor tomorrow or any day this week. Stay with me until the end, because the single most misunderstood rule in this entire update, the one that has already generated thousands of violations in the pilot zones where it was tested over the past 6 months, is something I am going to cover in detail. And once you understand it, you are going to realize that almost every driver on I-95 right now is unknowingly breaking it on a daily basis. Before we get into all of it, do me a favor. If you drive on I-95 regularly, or if you know someone who does, share this video right now before you watch another second of it. Not at the end, right now. Because the fine cycle on these new rules starts at midnight tonight in certain jurisdictions, and anyone who does not know what changed is going to find out the hard way in the form of a notice in their mailbox. One share takes 3 seconds. It could save someone $300 or more. Share it. Then come back and we are going to go through all of this together. Let me give you the background first, because context is everything when it comes to understanding why this is happening now, and why the enforcement approach is so dramatically different. United States when measured by the rate of fatal crashes. These are real people, real families, real consequences that happen on this road every single week. The federal government, working in coordination with the 15 state departments of transportation that share jurisdiction over this corridor, spent the past 2 years developing and piloting a comprehensive new enforcement framework specifically designed for I-95. That framework goes into full nationwide implementation tomorrow, and the approach is fundamentally different from the traditional model of enforcement most drivers are used to. The traditional model works like this. A state trooper or highway patrol officer observes a violation. They pursue the violating vehicle. They initiate a traffic stop. They write a ticket. The process involves human judgment, takes significant officer time, and statistically results in enforcement of only a small fraction of actual violations occurring on the road at any given moment. The new framework replaces significant portions of that human intervention model with automated enforcement infrastructure. Cameras, sensors, license plate recognition systems that can process thousands of vehicles per hour and cross-reference them against state registration databases in real time. Speed measurement arrays that can accurately clock vehicle speed from overhead gantries without requiring any officer to be present at the location at all. And a centralized processing system that generates violations, links them to registered vehicle owners, and issues notices automatically. No traffic stop required. No interaction with an officer. No opportunity to explain your circumstances in the moment. The fine is issued, and it is on its way to your mailbox before you have crossed the next mile marker. There are 7 specific changes going into effect tomorrow, and I'm going to go through each one of them with enough detail for you to understand exactly what it means for your daily drive. The first change is the expansion of active speed enforcement zones using overhead gantry-mounted radar arrays. Previously, speed cameras on I-95 were limited primarily to work zones where workers were actively present. Under the new rules, active speed enforcement infrastructure is being permanently installed and activated at 47 additional locations along the corridor, including segments with no construction activity, simply because those segments have demonstrated statistically elevated crash rates. The enforcement speed in these zones varies by state law and posted limit, but the violation threshold has been tightened. Where the standard enforcement practice previously allowed up to 11 miles per hour over the posted limit before automated systems generated a violation, that threshold has been reduced to 6 miles per hour over the posted limit in standard zones, and to just 3 miles per hour over the posted limit in designated high-density traffic areas, which include any segment within 10 miles of a major metropolitan interchange. The fine for a first automated speed violation in a standard enforcement zone starts at $75. In a high-density traffic area, the starting fine is $125. Repeat violations within a rolling 12-month period escalate to $250 and then to $400, with the possibility of points being added to your driving record at the discretion of the state where the violation was recorded. The second change is the activation of new minimum speed enforcement in designated zones. This is the one almost nobody is talking about, and this is the one that has already generated the highest volume of violations in the pilot testing. Every major highway in America has a posted minimum speed, as well as a posted maximum speed. On most segments of I-95, the minimum posted speed is 45 miles per hour in standard travel lanes. Driving significantly below that minimum in a through lane is just as illegal as speeding above the maximum, and it is substantially more dangerous from a traffic flow and crash risk perspective. New automated sensors capable of detecting vehicles traveling below the minimum threshold are now active in designated zones. If you are driving in a through travel lane at 35 or 40 miles per hour on a segment where the minimum is 45, the system will record your plate and a violation notice will be generated. The fine for a first minimum speed violation starts at $50. This does not apply to the right shoulder lane when it is designated as an emergency breakdown area. It applies to vehicles traveling continuously below minimum speed in active travel lanes during periods of flowing traffic, meaning traffic that is not in a confirmed congestion event. Why does this matter so much? Because on I-95, particularly in densely driven segments, one driver going 20 miles per hour below the flow of traffic creates a ripple effect of braking, lane changes, and dangerous speed differentials that is directly linked to rear-end chains. The new enforcement is specifically designed to address this problem, and the data from the pilot zones shows it is already working. But it also means that anyone who has ever driven I-95 at 40 miles per hour in the right lane while looking for their exit or managing a vehicle issue has been doing something the system will now ticket automatically. The third change is the implementation of mandatory minimum following distance enforcement in designated high-density corridors. This is the technology that most people did not even know existed. Overhead sensor arrays, using a combination of radar and infrared measurement, are now capable of calculating the following distance between consecutive vehicles in the same travel lane in real time. In designated high-density corridors, specifically segments within 15 miles of a major urban interchange where the average traffic density exceeds a defined threshold, maintaining less than a 2-second following gap behind the vehicle ahead of you is now a recordable violation. The system calculates time gap based on measured vehicle speed and the distance between the front bumper of your vehicle and the rear bumper of the vehicle ahead. If that gap falls below 2 seconds and is sustained for more than 4 consecutive seconds, a violation flag is recorded against your plate. The fine for a following distance violation is $100 for a first occurrence and $200 for a subsequent occurrence within a 12-month period. The fourth change is the activation of distracted driving detection cameras at 23 interchange and ramp locations along the corridor. These cameras use image recognition technology to detect handheld device usage by drivers as they approach and pass through designated interchange zones. The technology was piloted at 3 locations in the corridor over the past 8 months, and it detected handheld device use in an average of 12.4% of vehicles captured during peak hours. These are not interpretive. If the camera system detects a driver holding a phone or device above the dashboard in a manner consistent with active use, a violation is flagged and a human reviewer confirms the image before any notice is issued. The fine for a first distracted driving violation recorded at these fixed camera locations is $150 in most corridor states. In states that have enacted enhanced distracted driving penalties, including New York and New Jersey, the fine can be as high as $450 for a first offense, plus surcharges. The fifth change is the expansion of the high occupancy vehicle lane enforcement program using overhead license plate readers and occupancy detection sensors. This is particularly relevant for drivers who use the HOV lanes during the peak hours when access is restricted to vehicles with 2 or more occupants. The new sensor infrastructure uses a combination of infrared imaging and machine learning-based occupancy estimation to flag vehicles that appear to have a single occupant while traveling in restricted HOV lanes during enforcement hours. Flagged vehicles are then either confirmed by a reviewing officer via camera or pulled over by a patrol unit responding to the real-time flag from the system. Fines for HOV lane violations vary significantly by state along the corridor. In Florida, the fine for a first violation is $65. In Virginia, it is $125. In Maryland, it is $90. In Delaware and New Jersey, fines start at $75. In New York and Connecticut, they start at $150. All of these fines apply in addition to any points that may be assessed against the driver's license record. The sixth change involves new truck and commercial vehicle enforcement zones with tighter weight station compliance monitoring and automated notification systems. This is primarily relevant for commercial drivers and fleet operators, but it matters to every driver on I-95 because it directly affects traffic flow in commercial vehicle corridors. New weight and motion sensors installed in the travel lanes at 31 designated locations along the corridor can now measure the gross weight of a commercial vehicle in motion without requiring that vehicle to pull off the main roadway to a static scale. If a commercial vehicle registers over the legal gross vehicle weight limit for the state in which the sensor is located, an automated alert is sent to the nearest weigh station or mobile enforcement unit, and the vehicle is flagged for a mandatory pullover at the next available enforcement point. The fines for overweight commercial vehicles begin at several $100s and can escalate into the thousands depending on the severity of the overweight violation and the state in which it is recorded. The relevance for non-commercial drivers is simple. The new system processes commercial vehicles through these weight checks without requiring them to exit the main travel lanes for routine compliance, which means the traffic disruptions that previously accompanied commercial vehicle enforcement actions are significantly reduced. The seventh and final change going into effect tomorrow is the one I want you to pay the most careful attention to, because it applies to every single driver on this corridor, regardless of vehicle type, regardless of how carefully you drive, and regardless of whether you have a clean driving record going back 20 years. Starting tomorrow, the registration hold enforcement protocol goes live along the entire I-95 corridor. Here's what that means. The license plate recognition infrastructure that is now operating at every gantry point, every toll plaza, and every activated camera station along the corridor is doing something more than just recording speeds and following distances. It is doing real-time database cross-checks against state motor vehicle registration records. Every time your plate is read, the system checks whether your vehicle registration is current, whether your registration has any outstanding violations attached to it, and whether your insurance verification status is current in states that use electronic insurance verification systems. Here is the specific rule that is going to generate the most violations in the first weeks of this new enforcement cycle. In several states along the I-95 corridor, including New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and Virginia, vehicles with registrations that have been expired for more than 30 days and that are detected traveling on the interstate highway system are now subject to an automated violation notice, separate from any notice that may already have been issued by a local or state authority. The fine for this automated detection of an expired registration on an interstate highway in these states starts at $100 and includes an administrative processing fee in addition to whatever local or state fine may also apply. This matters because an enormous number of drivers in these states have registrations that lapsed during the past 1 to 2 years for a variety of reasons, and many of them have been driving locally without incident because local enforcement is inconsistent. On I-95, with the new automated detection infrastructure, that inconsistency is gone. If your registration is expired and you drive on this corridor, the system will see your plate, cross-reference it against the database, and generate a violation before you reach the next exit. No officer needed, no traffic stop, just a notice in your mailbox. Now I want to talk about what you should actually do with all this information, because I never want to give you something that feels alarming without also giving you something concrete and actionable that you can do today. The first thing you should do before you drive on I-95 tomorrow, or at any point this week, is check your vehicle registration. Open your glove box right now if your car is nearby and look at the registration card. When does it expire? If it expired within the last 30 days or is going to expire within the next 30 days, renewing your registration is your single highest priority. In most states along the I-95 corridor, you can renew your vehicle registration online through your state DMV website in less than 10 minutes. The cost of renewal is almost always a fraction of the fine you will face if the automated system detects an expired registration. Do not wait until the notice arrives. Renew today. The second thing you should do is check your speed calibration and driving habits for the corridor. Many drivers have a set of driving habits that developed over years of driving when enforcement was inconsistent and the human element of a traffic stop introduced enough uncertainty that the risk felt manageable. The new automated enforcement removes that uncertainty. The system does not have a good day or a bad day. It does not get tired at the end of a shift. It does not exercise discretion. It records what it records and it generates what it generates. If you routinely drive I-95 at 7, 8, or 9 miles per hour over the posted limit, that habit will generate violations under the new enforcement thresholds in designated high-density zones. The only way to avoid those violations is to change the habit, not to hope the system misses you. The third thing you should do is verify that your vehicle is currently listed under a valid insurance policy and that your insurance verification is current in your state of registration. In states that use electronic insurance verification, your insurer is supposed to transmit your policy status directly to the state DMV database in real time. But there are lag periods, particularly when a policy renews, lapses briefly, or is modified. If your insurance information is not current in the state database, you may be flagged when the license plate system cross-references your registration, even if you are actively covered under a valid policy. Call your insurance company or check your carrier's online portal to confirm that your coverage is currently reflected in the state system. If there is any discrepancy, request that your insurer submit an updated electronic verification immediately. The fourth thing you should do is adjust your following distance habit before you get back on the interstate. 2 seconds sounds like nothing. 2 seconds sounds like plenty of space. But on I-95 at 65 miles per hour, 2 seconds of following distance means your vehicle is approximately 190 feet behind the vehicle ahead of you. That is more than half a football field. Most drivers on a busy interstate do not maintain that gap. Traffic culture on I-95 in many markets has normalized following distances of half a second or less during congested periods. The new automated following distance enforcement in high-density corridor segments is going to catch a very large number of drivers who genuinely believe they are driving safely and who have no idea that their normal following distance is now a recordable violation. The fifth thing you should do, particularly if you are a regular I-95 commuter who uses an E-ZPass or equivalent transponder account, is verify that your transponder account is fully funded and that your account information is current. In several states along the corridor, the integration of the new enforcement infrastructure with existing toll collection systems means that a vehicle with an associated transponder account in arrears may generate additional flags when passing through gantry points. Keep your transponder account current. Log into your account today if you have not done so recently, and verify the balance and the account status. Let me bring you back now to something I want to leave you with that goes beyond the specific rules and the specific dollar amounts.